Ladies and gentlemen, Allan Fung. Why Rick and not going out of state?
Actually, I did start my freshman year out of state. Couldn't even see over the sink.
You were 9.
And supporting my wife, who we met was through politics. Both of us were delegates for Mitt Romney back in 2012.
Any plans on the future?
Right now, I'm
Today we're joined by one of the best lawyers in the nation. He was also the 20th mayor of Cranston and the first Asian American to become mayor as well. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Allan Fung.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Thanks, Jacob, for having me. Very excited to be here today.
Absolutely. Thank you for spending your time with us at Mr. Fung. It really, truly means a lot with me. So here's a rundown. We only have 15 minutes with you.
All right, no problem.
Addison, if you would like to send this first picture. So,
Oh, man. Throwing the Wayback Time Machine.
Take us back to, of course, your parents are Chinese immigrants, right? I can relate to the same because my parents are Filipino. How was it growing up with immigrant parents?
No, that picture brings back a lot of memories. As some individuals may know, first generation born in the United States, born in Providence, Rhode Island. My parents were both immigrants from, at that time, Hong Kong. Both were born in mainland China, ended up going into Hong Kong back when it was under British rule. Hard to imagine because that's not what it is now. But they met, got married there, and just like every other, first generation immigrant, wanted to live the American dream. And that picture brings back a lot of memories. It's me and my younger sister Anna when my parents were living in Providence, in South Providence on Stanwood Street. And, that's history right there.
Yeah, I really like your immigrant story with your parents because that's something I can reflect or connect to the most. Because my parents, they were from the Philippines originally and now they came here. If you can move on to the next picture, Addison.
Sure, let's fast forward. Go ahead.
Fast forward. So fast forward. I've been doing some research in child labor laws, right?
so you
So the next picture is you in front of your parents' own company, your own restaurant?
Yeah, it's just like a lot of typical immigrants when they first come to this country. There's not that many opportunities. And back, in the 70s, when my parents first came here, you only had a couple choices being Chinese immigrants. It was either Chinese restaurant or laundromat. And they chose the restaurant route. My mom first, because they didn't have a lot of money, worked back in a jewelry manufacturer called Monet Jewelry. My dad was learning how to cook at a separate restaurant, and they saved enough money. They partnered with my uncle at that restaurant called Hong Wen Restaurant, which, they owned and operated in Cranston for 35 years. And as you see that photo, talking about child labor laws, there wasn't too many child labor laws in an immigrant family back then.
Yeah.
I started out 9 years old. I was a little bit older in that photo, but 9 years old, I was like kind of bussing tables, washing dishes. I remember I couldn't even see over the sink.
You were 9 when you were doing all of that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's when I first started because, a lot of the customers even remembered me like in there helping out my parents, but then, studying, like had my books open in one of the booths and just kind of studying in between, helping them out.
Really? So yeah, I could imagine. Yeah, you would be like a fantastic cook by now, right? Like an expert.
Yeah, it's fun. The only tough part is I love my wife, but she's very picky, so I lost a little bit of those skills.
So Addison, if you might, I'll tell if we can move on to the next picture.
Go ahead.
So you went to classical high school for your high school career and then moved on to Rick. If I may ask, why Rick and not like going out of state?
Actually, I did start my freshman year out of state. But one of the things that I miss was I'm very close with my family. So I decided to transfer after that first year to go to Rhode Island College. And Rick was the right school for me because it was a smaller, closer-knit community. It allowed me the opportunity to continue working at my parents' restaurant studying, but most importantly, gave me a lot of flexibility because I did student government while I was there, along with sports. I played on the tennis team. So it was a great opportunity to, I lived off campus at home, saving money because I knew I wanted to go to law school. Rick was the perfect opportunity for both from a social aspect, educational aspect, but most importantly, still being close with my family and working with them every single day.
Absolutely. And the one thing I find the most interesting is your major. You pursue political science, but you went to go to Suffolk to pursue law. What do you have to say to those kids who don't have to figure it out yet? Does that make sense?
Take your time and figure it out because, I studied politics because I really enjoyed it. Had a lot of met a lot of friends on the campaign trail, got involved in student government, but it's also a good background for law school. And it helped develop me. It helped develop a lot of my social skills when I was in school too, but also the opportunity to lead and experience an election myself. And you really learn being involved in student government, what it means where a lot of people have a lot of needs and you're trying to balance that off. And being a class representative, was something that I truly cherished, and it kind of stoked the fire in me, for down the line. But I always knew I wanted to go to law school. As you see from my high school yearbook, that was what I really wanted to achieve. And I'm very proud because I was the first in my family to go to college, graduate, and then go on to law school. But in my heart, after law school, I knew I wanted to come back to Rhode Island to practice and be close with my family, but also help the fledgling Asian American community that was growing here in Rhode Island.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, the most interesting thing I took from that was your first generation. I am also a first generation student as well. What do you have to say to those who are also first generation who don't really have it figured out yet?
It takes time, and believe me, I'm still learning. But the one thing that I urge a lot of the first generation, don't lose your identity. Embrace it. It was a little different for me back in the 70s and 80s when I was growing up, because you just want to be that all-American boy, all-American, my sisters want to be all-American girls and stuff, and just kind of blend in with a lot of your friends. I had a lot of Caucasian friends from a lot of different backgrounds, Italian-American, Irish, but I kind of, was brought up in that generation where, it's proud to be American, which I am, but I wish I had gone to school to learn Chinese formally. I wish I had gone to learn how to read Chinese. A lot of it I picked up because I had to as a first generation, translating from my parents, but I wish I did more so that I can embrace more of that culture now as I, grew up. But, Jacob, for your generation, and just keep learning, keep embracing your culture, and never lose that identity. That's the best piece of advice I can just provide.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. Because growing up, my parents sent me to a private school that was primarily Caucasians. So I felt disconnected from my culture often. I often did not feel comfortable in my own skin. But as I got into high school, I realized maybe it's okay to be who I am. And that inevitably made me make a club, AAA, or an all Asian society at my high school as well. And it's a great, I think I was trying to invite you to become a guest speaker, but we never got the chance. So it's a great thing that you're here now. And yeah.
No, don't worry about it. And just, even keep doing that. Even if you're in college, get involved, because I did the same thing, whether it was at Rhode Island College or even at Suffolk. I was part of the AAPI Law Society. And one thing you'll find is keep embracing a lot of your culture as you move along in your career, because there's a lot of opportunities to network, not just in Rhode Island, but across the country, across the region. And those friends are individuals you're going to have for the rest of your life. And, I'm very proud of that. And in fact, when I came back, I was part of the Chinese American Association here in Rhode Island. Still to this day, I'm still honorary chairman. And it's having that close connection of individuals and that tight-knit community is something that keeps you part of with you as part of your heritage.
That's great. That's great. As do you want to move on to the next? Do you mind if we move on to the next picture, Mayor, Mr. Pop?
Go ahead, absolutely.
Is this? I believe this picture was your first speech or your first when you started to launch your campaign for first mayor. How was running for mayor of Cranston?
A little scary because, you know, when I first ran for office, because I served a couple terms on the city council at first, a lot of people doubted whether an Asian American could ever win, you know, any seat in a city like Cranston, where, let's face it, back then, predominantly Italian American, Irish Americans, a lot of people didn't give me much of a chance for council, but it happened. And then when I ran for mayor, you know, I was very excited, had a lot of support behind me, not just from the Asian community, but from the community in general. And I think a lot of it is this: I was very proud, you know, to be elected as an Asian, but it's what you did in office, whether it was on the city council or during my term as mayor, that really proved that I belong. And that's one of the things that's difficult too, being first generation and kicking down those, you know, ceilings as well as those brick walls to kind of run through it. I always was mindful of the fact that, look, I've got to do it better, work harder, and make sure that I don't take these missteps that could, you know, land difficult opportunities for the next generation behind me. I want to kick these doors open so that next generation of Asian Americans can come into Cranston, into Rhode Island politics, or in the legal career, and not be afraid.
Any plans on the future?
Right now, I'm just enjoying politics on the sideline, and, you know, back practicing law with some good friends of mine, and supporting my wife, who I think, you know, you may know, and some of my people is involved in politics too. And actually, that's how we met, was through politics. Both of us were delegates for Mitt Romney back in 2012. We met down in Florida, started dating, ended up getting married, and we're coming up on our 10th anniversary. So it's a lot of fun. The one thing that I will say is, you know, you never know, never close any book in any chapter on your life. My stories continue to be written, and it's maybe someday I'll jump back in, but right now I'm just happy, enjoying my time practicing law and with my wife.
The next picture is going to be probably, if not, my favorite pictures.
Ah, that's awesome.
That was a picture at the football game where I went up to you and it was like, you are an inspiration to me, and how your boys for Asian Americans is something I want to do. I believe I was starting my YouTube channel, Team Himothy, at that time, where I wanted to embrace young influencers to make them have a chance. If you were to tell me 4 years later that you would get to be the first guest of my new channels that were starting at the full circle moment that we talk about storytelling. The story doesn't end by the left, Mr. Paul.
No, I'm happy to be a part of it. Happy to be a part of your kickoff. You know, it's special for me, and most importantly, not special in a sense that because Cranston based, it's Asian based, part of the community, helping each other, and we did a lot of great things in Cranston, a lot of things for Rhode Island. But the part that I really enjoyed was that picture where we got a chance to meet, because I was hopeful that I can inspire the next generation to do great things and continue on and see that public service isn't something that is a bad word. You can help people in different ways, you know, starting your broadcast to inspire change with the next generation behind you, some of your peers and colleagues now, or even me. You know, I'm very proud to see where we were a few years ago to what you're doing today in college, and I can't wait to see what you're going to do in the future. So don't ever lose my number.
Thank you again, Mr. Fung, for your time here. I really appreciate it. Everyone, please give it up for Allan Fung.
It's showtime, 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 showtime. Guess who's back again? Oh, they don't know.